Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the BMW Z4 in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Now currently, there is a 4-day season of this car only going on, so I decided it would be a good time to review the car. Thankfully, unlike the Lancer, I have this car at 3-starred with everything maxed out, all upgrades and import parts, and a rank of 1476. So in this video, I will be showing you the 7 sequential races leading up to me reaching number 1 on the multiplayer leaderboard early this multiplayer season. Just a few hours after the multiplayer season began, I spent a little bit less than an hour just playing races and races and races in this car to see if I could get to the number 1 spot. And as you will see, I did manage to get there. Obviously, there were a lot of ups and downs, as you will see in this video. It's not all win-win-win. Of course, things happen, as we all know in multiplayer, that causes you to lose, whether or not you really should have or not. But anyways, yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster, as multiplayer always is, but it was pretty fun, and I managed to reach the number 1 spot in multiplayer for the second time in my career. The first time was during the Acura season. If you would like to see my video about that, I would definitely recommend checking it out. So, since the only car you can use this season is the BMW Z4, obviously there is not much point in saying what my competition is, because like 90% of the people I'm facing are other 3-starred Z4s, because this is probably one of the easier cars in the game to max out. I believe the Camaro and the SRT8 are probably numbers 1 and 2, but this car is right up there with them. So we have managed to stay in the number 1 spot in this race, and we're coming up near the end of the race. And in this season, all of the races are 1 lap, which is kind of nice because it is a slow car. You don't want 2 laps in this car because that would just take a really long time. And this way, it's a great way to farm rep, since the car just takes 5 minutes to refill on like 2 tokens or something. So if you're into rep farming at all, this is a great way to do it. And yes, I temporarily changed my name to RPM THANOS because the Hot Dog one called me that in one stream, and the nickname kind of stuck, so I decided to keep that for a little while. At the time this video goes out, I've already changed my name to something different, so you're not going to see RPM THANOS in the leaderboard, but if you saw him earlier in the season, or possibly late last season as well, you now know who it was. So I'd like to talk a little bit about these kinds of seasons and just how I feel about them, you know, the ones that just have 1 car. So there has been a lot of debate about this, but the way I feel about it is, even though this isn't something that should be done very often, because then people can't use the really good cars that they've worked really hard for it. But I think if seasons like this are done not very often, a lot of people will enjoy them as long as they are done with cars that most people are going to have maxed out. Because then it really does make it just all about skill, at least for a little bit, and everybody's on an even playing field. Now obviously this should not be done all the time. As I've said before, then there would be no point in getting really good cars if everybody was just always equal. But every so often, it's a good change and a good challenge. So that is basically how I feel about these seasons, and I am quite enjoying this one actually. Aside from the knockdowns that don't work how they're supposed to, that is still the most annoying thing about multiplayer. So we are now coming up to this 360-degree turn that this car can take pretty well. Most of the slow cars can take it well, as can the faster ones that have good drifting. Some of the ones that don't have good drifting tend to go a bit toward the outside and may get stuck on the outer wall, in which case if that happens to you, boost some nitro, it will push you away from the wall, and then you can just begin drifting again. So that is what to do if you get in that situation. So here I almost catch up to and pass this guy. He hits me in the air with 360. Thankfully I have shockwave, and he does not knock me down, but I do go on the sidewalk a little bit near the end, and I don't manage to pass him. As you can see there, everybody was at the exact same rank, 1476. So yeah, that is what this season is about, just completely skill-based. Except if you get knocked down for some dumb reason. Other than that, it's completely skill-based. Interestingly, at the beginning of this race, everybody goes the left route, when I'm pretty sure going this right route is faster, because every time I've gone this way, and other people haven't, I've gotten ahead. See here, it didn't do much of a difference, but in faster cars, this certainly seems to be the case. And I just find it to be less risky than going to the left, which has that place in the tunnel. Yeah, I don't go that way very often, and I find it to be a bit inconsistent for me, whereas going the right way is pretty consistently good. So one thing about this season that you won't really find in other seasons is that if you get ahead, you are pretty much guaranteed to stay ahead unless you make a mistake or something. And if you're in last, well, there's not really too much you can do about it unless other people make mistakes. So if there's a bunch of really skilled people in the race, and say they get a little bit behind because they bump a car or don't get enough nitro or something around the turn, they're probably going to stay in those same positions throughout the rest of the race, unless of course somebody makes a mistake. So we are coming up pretty close to the end of this race, had a little bit of a tussle back there with this elite Edmund D guy, and it looks like we are going to be coming in second position. As I said in this video, the races are the 7 sequential races leading up to me reaching Legends League, nothing taken out. So we stayed equal in that race. Now in this race, we are facing just 3 other people, and this is one of the races where things did not go quite so great. You will see what I mean in a little bit. So, a lot of people have been wondering what is upcoming in Asphalt 9. So, on the Asphalt 9 Discord not too long ago, Arrhythmia, the person who puts together the multiplayer seasons and deals with the events and all that stuff in Asphalt 8, said there wouldn't be any more car hunts. So that means nothing like what was with the 488 recently, for example. Now, he is sometimes a bit of a troll, so I don't know for sure if that is correct or not, but I don't know why he would joke about something like that. Also, there have been some rumors going around, possibly from the devs, I'm not exactly sure, but that there won't be any more of the Unleashed events. And right then, by the way, that was the bad thing that happened in this race. Going off to the side there, it's probably happened to more than just me. So back to what we were talking about, no more Unleashed events. This means that the Terzo, Regera, and Chiron will be obtainable through some other ways. There have been more rumors going around that they might possibly need previous exclusive cars in order to get them. So like the Egoista, or the 918, or the Huera, or stuff like that. Again, I believe those are just rumors, nothing is confirmed about them yet, so we will have to see, and if I get any further information about them that I am allowed to share, I will definitely share it with you guys, because I do want my channel to be more than just a multiplayer channel, but to be an Asphalt 8 and Asphalt 9 news channel. So what I said earlier has come into play in this race about cars tending to stay in the same positions throughout the race. And as I got knocked down and put in last, and my speed is the same as everyone else, I come in last and go down 17 because my rating was lower than them, because going up and down in multiplayer does depend on how many people are in the race and the ratings of other people that you are facing. Those are the 2 most important and possibly the only things about determining going up or down in rating. I don't exactly know how it works, but it has something to do with that. So coming down here, I hit this ramp at a little bit of a weird angle, almost do a half barrel, but I brake in midair and I can avoid it. That is one thing you can do in Asphalt 9 that you could not do in Asphalt 8. That is very nice. And we have one guy that is right on our tail here. Now, if this happens, just know, in this season at least, that they're not going to be able to catch up to you unless you make a mistake or they do some speed tricks or something that just makes them faster. So just bide your time, don't worry about them, and just concentrate on playing as you would normally. In an event, maybe. Just pretend like you're playing an event. That is often what I do in multiplayer, so I take the best routes and speed tricks and stuff like that. However, nothing too risky. If there's something that may be faster, but you feel is too risky for you, don't do it. It is a lot better to lose first position and maybe get into second position than it would be to wreck after doing something risky and go all the way back into last. Thankfully, in this race, nothing like that happened, and while I do have a little bit of a mistake there at the end and he almost catches up to me, I managed to stay ahead, boost nitro just in time, go up this ramp for the win. That is probably one of the closest races I have had this season. However, the next ones are pretty close as well. Now, these last 2 races in the video are duels, just with me and another person, because the thing is, when you get higher in rating, the higher you get, the fewer people you are likely to face in each race. Because when you are down lower, there are more people very close to the same rating as you, and since multiplayer matchmaking in Asphalt 9 is based on rating, it makes sense in that case that you would find a lot of people. And there I passed that guy because I used Shockwave at that very specific point. Okay, so back to what I was saying, then when you get higher in the rating, you will find fewer people because there is more of a rating difference between everybody, and when you get at the very top, as I'm at like 2 position in this race, well, you only have those few people that are close to you down. Now, when this happens, the game will try to pair you with the people close to you, and if it can't find anybody, it may get people, say, 200 rating below you or something, so you can at least race against somebody. In that case, you're going to find yourself going up fewer and fewer rating in each race, which definitely makes sense then how it gets harder to gain rating as you get closer and closer to the #1 spot. And also simply because the higher your rating is, the less rating you get per race. So I go up this ramp with Shockwave with that other guy not too far behind. I almost land on my side and wreck, but thankfully I don't, and I'm able to cross the finish line in first position. Now after this race, I was a single rating away from the number one guy. He was 1564, I was 1563, and he hadn't actually played in a while, so I was hoping he wouldn't play one race and go up a bunch, and then I'd have to keep playing a whole bunch more, and I also hoped that in this race, something dumb wouldn't happen, and I would be able to come in first position. Thankfully, I kept my cool and passed this guy by using nitro a bit earlier than he did, and now all I have to do is stay ahead, because as earlier, I could not catch up. So I guess now it's time for my general review about this car. It is the second lowest car in the game, however, it is somewhere close to the middle of D-Class in terms of performance. Probably lower middle D-Class, but still, it's definitely not one of the worst ones. So this car has generally decent stats all around. I mean, its speed is obviously low because it's in D-Class, but it has good handling, decent nitro efficiency, okay acceleration, and all in all, it is just a fine car to drive. There's not really anything horrible about driving it. Unless you just hate slow cars. So this guy was right behind me right here throughout the entirety of this race. However, the finish line is coming up very soon. We are at 80%. I was so scared there he was going to knock me down. He touched me with Shockwave and was at a higher elevation than me. I don't know how I escaped that, but I'm glad I did because now we come in first place. And usually if you come in first and you don't have like 1900 rating, you go up at least a little bit. And I did. I went up 5, thus putting me in the number 1 position. But it only lasted for like 10 minutes because obviously since you can play this car over and over again, people just kept playing in it. So here we are at 1568 at position 1. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!